Buddy. Natalie coming to you live. Spirit and coffee. Got my coffee here. Yum. Oh. Mm-hmm. Yum, yum, yum. Good coffee. I hope you got your coffee with you. Okay. Trying to do this crazy hair of mine, which is curly. I didn't realize that my hair was curly until my niece pointed it out to me. It's like, Auntie, your hair is curly. You have to take care of it as though you have curly hair. So now I have this crazy wild hair that I Hey, how is this about spirit and coffee? Good morning, Kevin. Okay, let's get started. Let me adjust the camera. Good morning to those on Podbean. So, as you guys know, my life is shifting, and I'm going to start doing spirit and coffee early in the morning. And you guys will probably see me bright-eyed, bushy tail, big hair, and makeup on every morning now because I my life is shifting and changing, and I'm super excited about it. Good morning, Kumar. Or shall I say good evening to you? Because it is evening where you are. All right, let's get started. I will say this tonight, we're going to air a special edition of Spirit and Coffee. I'm going to have a special guest on. You guys are totally welcome to join that. I'm going to try to set up a live feed so that we do it live on the Spirit and Coffee Facebook Live is what I'm going to do it on, just to do a pilot, because I will be transitioning Spirit and Coffee over to that platform for the Facebook Live coming the first of the year, but I want to sort of try it out and see how that works first, and then we'll be doing it on Podbean as well. So those on Podbean, you can listen to it later if you want to. But I'm really excited to have a guest, and that's kind of my hopes for moving forward with Spirit and Coffees, to have people on here sort of be guest. Okay, so good morning. Good morning, Betty. How are you? I'm gonna start to do them early again, so a little bit earlier. I think I was doing them at 6 o'clock before. Um, I think 7 o'clock is going to be good. Monday, I will be announcing what is coming up for me and what is happening, which I'm super excited about. And I think that you guys will also be excited, and you guys could come visit me, or I could come visit you, however you would like, because what I'm up to is going to be good, epic. Okay. My life is never small. I never play small. I play big, and sometimes playing big means that I fall. And sometimes when I fall really from a really high place. And so stumbling down sometimes is painful. However, I know how to get back up. And that's what we were talking about with this book is how do you, good morning, Doreen. Good morning, those on Podbean. How do you get up when you fall, right? Especially when you're trying to build something so foundational for your life, especially when you're saying, hey, I have something to offer this world. Okay. And what I have to offer the world is so critical, so important. Yeah, you're curious, Betty. Don't worry, I will reveal what is coming up for me, what's next in my life. As you guys know, before I go into the book, is that when we do rebuild our life, sometimes we're super attached to um, the things that we have in our life at this moment, but we know they're not serving us, and we're afraid to walk away. We're afraid to recreate. The reality is, we are creators. And when we get stuck in the mental blockage, right? When we're stuck in, like, I can't do this, or I can't leave I can't do this, I can't do that, right? Good morning, Jonathan. That when we stay in the I can't all the time, when we're constantly, I can't do this, I can't do that, what we do is we block ourselves from actually creating our best self, the version of our best self, because we have to let go sometimes in order to actually step into that next phase of our life. And we can't do that if we're holding on to things that are not serving us. And sometimes we hold on so strong that, I mean, our blood, we cut off the circulation, right? Think about it. When we're gripping onto something so much, we're cutting off the blood circulation. Sometimes we have to let go. And that's scary. It's scary because it gives us butterflies. Good morning, Peter, in our belly, right? It gives us butterflies where we're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. And so I say this because I constantly do this, right? It's not just me preaching. I let go of things. I have to let go. And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it hurts, and sometimes it's letting go of people we truly love and saying, you've got to take your path. And sometimes when we don't let go, what we do is we stop people from their spiritual journey and evolution as well. Good morning, Justin. And sometimes we think we know what's best for people. We don't. We don't even know what's best for us. You know, I would love for any one of us to get on here and say, yeah, I know what's best for me. Most people are like, I don't even know what's best for me. I don't even know what I want to do with my life, you know? And then they're like 50 years old and going, what did I do with my life? What do I want to do with my life? And it's never too late to start. So you can always start right now. Okay. So letting go. Good morning, Rick. Good morning, Justin. Good morning. These are the morning people. Podbean listeners, good morning as well. As you know, for those, I do a Facebook Live. So you're more than welcome to get on my Facebook Live and see my face while I do these as well. It's up to you. Okay. So I want to talk about that. So we were talking about basically the programming that has been with us. And I'm talking about you creating the laws that will support you in your evolutionary phase. Now, I said this. Good morning from your friend Rick. Have a wonderful Friday. You as well, Rick. Is that I need to turn that alarm off. But as I continue to move along and look at the laws that govern my space, right? Or we look at even you in your practices, what laws govern your life, that you can ask yourself, is it supporting me in moving forward in my divine birthright? Now, here's the thing. When we try to live for others, and I wrote this the other day, we chip away at our soul. And what do I mean by that? That we're compromising our soul's desire to actually to manifest outward, to be that self-expression of who we are. And as we try to please others, we never will. We can never please somebody ever. Their expectations of us will just keep growing and growing and growing, and we can never live up to anybody's expectations. We can't even live up to our own expectations at times. Good morning, Soheb. How are you? And so what I'm saying is that we have to understand that we've got to learn to live our best life. And I keep saying that saying, live your best life. What I mean by that personally is that we get to understand, how do we live our best life? The reason we want to be better is the reason why we are not. Okay, can you explain, Jonathan? Can you give a little bit more insight as to what you mean by that? I don't want to speculate because I can. I'll make up all kinds of stuff about that thing. And we were talking about the dream, and I was talking about the stories that we create around this, right? So looking at our life, getting honest with ourselves and saying, what does my best life look like? What does it look like for me? Right? And this is a big message for a Friday. What does my best life look like? So this weekend, you can say, I'm going to ponder what that looks like for me. I'm going to write it down. I had a little discussion with my niece yesterday about living her dream and asking her, do you even believe you're worthy of living your best life? Do you even think that you're enough? Do you think that, what does that even mean to you? I want to be happy. What does happiness even mean? Do you even know what that feels like for you? When did you feel happy? When did you feel your happiest? Can you recreate that feeling within you all the time? Even when things are going crazy, can you find your way back to that feeling of happiness or joy, or creating your life the way you want to? Can you find yourself back to that or not? And that's the biggest question, that we ourselves cannot find clarity if we don't even know, if we're stuck in the murk, right? If we're stuck in all this muddy waters and our eyes can't see, how are you going to know? You've got to get clear. And most people don't get clear, because you can ask people. That's what I do. I ask powerful questions to people, let people ponder on them. And most people don't even know. So how can then you say, oh, you should be happy, you should get over this? Well, the reality is, are you getting over it? And I mean those big, hard lessons in life. Do you get over them? And if you do, how? What does it look like? to transmute the energy, to shift the energy of those uncomfortable moments in our life into something powerful. Most people don't even know that experience. They're going to stay stuck in the murk. Well, on the opposite side of maybe you said the reason that they want to be better is the reason that they're not, is that that's it, is that they're striving for something that's bigger than them that they don't even know how to get to. They don't even know what it means. They just know that that's how they feel. And so in the feeling, it's finding the clarity in the feeling. Well, you know what? I want bigger and I know I don't have it. And what's happening inside of me is I'm uncomfortable. What's happening inside of me is I feel like I'm not worthy. I'm not enough. Right? And those are the difficult conversations that we have or get to have with ourselves, or don't. You don't have to have those conversations with yourself. But at the end of the day, I will always ask the question, is it serving you to think this way? Is it serving you? Is it supporting you into your higher self? Is it supporting you into living out your greatest dreams? I ask these questions over and over and over again for myself and to you guys to be in that question. Okay. So here we go. We're going to read from the Four Agreements again. In the dream of the planet, it is normal for humans to suffer, to live in fear, and to create emotional dramas. Now, I talked about this yesterday. Would life be fun? Okay. Would life be fun? Good morning, Kim. If we didn't have drama. And I want you guys to really ponder that question. If we only lived in facts like a computer, would we have fun with life? No, I don't think so. I think we'd be bored to tears. That's why we create these dramas, these stories. That's why we take something that might be so tiny and make it so big, right? You'll look at a friend and you'll be like, man, you're complaining about that? What? Okay, let's just say this. I lived in India. I have seen, okay, so in the US, there is poverty, okay? And there's poverty everywhere in the world, right? When we look at it. Now, what does that even mean if we define poverty? Because that's really a label that we're giving it, right? Okay, so for most people, and we're just going to use it for the general, like the general concepts, right? Within general concepts. So in India, we'll say, okay, poverty there and poverty here, two different things. Here's the difference that I see. One of them is covert and one of them is overt, right? One of them is hidden, the other one is in your face. So we hide certain things here and it looks pretty on the outside, but then there's the suffering, right? And then in India, it's everything's just in your face. Like there's not really much hiding. It's just there and you experience it. Now, here's the deal. I can tell you that you can see these kids when I've worked in the slums in India. I went to the slums in India. I worked with these kids, right? And yes, they were beaten down, right? You could see it in their eyes, but there were this spark of hope and joy. And some of these people were super happy, right? Then I come back home to the US and people are complaining about things that are like, my coffee is too cold. And I'm going, what? Really? Are you kidding me right now? So that's a judgment on my part, right? I'm judging these people who are like, my coffee's too cold. But if we looked at it from what the Four Agreements is saying, is that we play into these dramas because life would be boring if we didn't. If we didn't have something to talk about or some kind of a play to make up or make things bigger than they were, we wouldn't have the drama, and then it wouldn't be fun. At least that's what I think. Now, there are some dramas that play out that are not fun, that are pure hell for people, right? It's like they're in a horror story and they play this out. But here's the deal. We have the opportunity, okay, to either be a victim or a survivor of this dream. And that's where the personal responsibility shows up. I told you that I live by personal responsibility. That's looking at my life and being completely honest with myself and my principles and my law. So what are your principles? What are your law? And are you being honest with them or not? Okay. Disorder is necessary. Yeah, and I think that's sort of what we're talking about is the suffering, right? We all suffer. Now, that's a basic Buddhist principle. We suffer. Like if you look into Buddhism, that's what it says. There is suffering. Period. Nobody escapes it. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what family you were born into. I don't, there is suffering in this world, and we know that. Okay, that is where compassion can come in, and we can look at our brothers and sisters and say, yeah, we all have suffering. That's another thing that came up yesterday in a conversation, is that people want to compete to say my suffering is greater than yours. The reality is there is no greater suffering. Suffering is suffering, and everybody experiences their own suffering in some way. But people want to be like, no, you don't understand mine. It's bigger. It's not a competition who has the bigger suffering, or you can make it a competition if you want, and then see if that works for you. See how that works out. See if that gets you closer to your divine birthright. See if that has you walking in your, right? It's recognizing that, yeah, okay, maybe the suffering's a little different. Like, maybe I didn't go through that suffering, but I have my own suffering. And because of that, because I understand what that feels like, that I can then have compassion for my brothers and sisters rather than make it a competition about who has suffered more. Instead, it's like, you've had suffering too. I know. And I'm here with you, and I understand, and I'm here to listen. I'm here to give an ear. I'm here to be with you, right? Now, so we have the suffering, we have the fear, and we create emotional dramas around them. Now, here's the deal. That's where I was talking about the personal responsibility. Do we step into personal responsibility for those dramas and all of the pain that we're feeling, or do we not? Right? Now you have a choice, and that's the beauty of this whole system, is that it's by choice. Love this. Have a great day. You as well, Jonathan. Okay? So really think about that for yourself. Am I playing victim to this, or am I stepping out of it? Now it's really hard when you're in it, right? To hear you're being a victim of this, right? Because people will say, but I am the victim. And the reason that I jolt people out of that mindset is because saying I'm a victim of something puts me in poverty. It puts me in less than. It puts me in scarcity. It puts me in fear. And when I play in fear, I cut off opportunities from actually existing in my life. If I play in survival, that I am a survivor of this, I open up opportunity to maneuver out of. I open up the gates to say, I have the power, not they have the power over me. Now, this is I was talking about collapse distinctions before, and your mastery lies in distinguishing distinctions. Living in a mindset that doesn't serve your higher purpose will keep you trapped in your own prison. Okay? So really think about that. It'll keep you trapped in scarcity. It'll keep you trapped in fear. Looking at your worldview on things. Now, it's very difficult, and trust me, because I've done this with people, and there's this non-attachment of like, are you going to play the victim in this? Now, if your answer is yes, know that that's what you're choosing. And there is some kind of payoff for you there. And the payoff could be that people feel sorry for you, that I don't know, whatever it is for you. But then I'll say, is it serving you? Is it serving you to be that way? And your answer could say yes or no. And if the answer is no, then what is going to serve you? Would it serve you to be responsible, or personally responsible, be a survivor, and then take the way that you interact and choose to interact with what's happened to you from a different mindset? Because at the end of the day, anybody who you feel has inflicted harm upon you, there's nothing that they can do to take that away. It's already been done. It's sort of like the way we experience time, right? You can't undo. I love this example. If I put creamer in my coffee, right? I don't have creamer in my coffee, by the way. But if I put creamer in my coffee, I can't undo the process of the milk or the creamer or the whatever's in here. I can't undo that process. It's already happened. Okay. That set into motion something. Good morning, Ivan. As that is set into motion, it's irreversible because we don't know how to go back in time. So if you feel to your life, someone has inflicted pain or suffering on you, that cannot be undone ever. It has already happened. Now, where we become responsible and get to choose how we live our life is how do we engage what has already happened? We can't undo it, but we can engage it and we can choose to engage it the way we want to. Does it have power over us or do we have power with it? How has it made us stronger? Those are the bigger questions you can ask yourself in any situation, right? Has this made me stronger? Will it make me stronger? Good morning, KK. Send gift ×1. I don't know what that means, but thank you. I'm not sure. I don't know much about Podbean, but I have flowers, it looks like. Yay, thank you. Good morning, Jose. Thank you, KK. I don't know if that's your name, KK, but thank you for the gifts. Okay, so asking ourselves, how do we engage it and where do we take personal responsibility for this, right? And in that personal responsibility, it sometimes is not easy. Now, here's another thing that happened, and I can tell you there's been a lot of craziness, right, in my family, in my life. And by craziness, I mean that there's historical trauma, okay? And I'm going to talk about my life. And the historical trauma, I'm going to put this way because I really want to talk about the trauma. The historical trauma that has happened, it's a seeded pattern, and it's probably a seeded pattern. And we talk about karma, right, in family. We talk about how we can release the karma from the family. But the historical trauma, and I'll use my life as an example, is probably seeded back from ages ago, okay? Now, what happens in families is that there's always that one, right? You hear how that weird auntie, I'm the weird auntie, the one auntie that like is the weirdo, kind of they call it the black sheep, but really just kind of the outcast, kind of does things differently, doesn't really go with the way that people want her to be programmed or him to be programmed or them to be programmed, right? And they're like, I don't get it. You're just totally not like us, right? Well, I had my father who would say, break the chain, break the cycle, and you're going to break the cycle. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means, but yes, I'm going to do this, right? Little did I know, yay, I get to be the bearer of the cross, which is fine because I can handle it. So what is magnified in my world is the trauma. And I could make it bigger, or I can say love will dissolve it. Now, how do I engage in that? Because it feels so hard when you're going through it. And I know this, you guys, and this is where my compassion for humanity comes in. I know that when we're in it, it almost feels like we can't get out of it. It feels like sometimes there's no hope. Where's the hope, right? And this is where I turn to God and say, all right, God, help me through this one. The trauma. And I said, you know what? This is how we get through it as a family. We stop talking about each other, number one. And we pray for one another. Now, this can be super hard when we want to be right about who we are, about what they've done to us and in the past. But if we recognize it from the bigger perspective of like this trauma is historical, then we feel, I get why the behavior is this way. I can see the patterns in my family of why people behave certain ways. And so what do I have? Compassion and forgiveness for them rather than saying, I'm going to make you wrong for behaving this way. Again, this quote, forgive them for they know not what they do, is huge. Because if they understood, they would know that they are loved. They would understand that they are loved. But there's some real deep suffering and hurting within a person for them to act out this way. And why? I think it's the trauma that has been passed down, the programming. The Four Agreements talks about the programming that has been instilled in us from our own families. And in that, we take it on as though it is our own. Betty says, I always say this will pass. Yes, well said, Jonathan, she said. Well said, Jonathan. Now, in the when you're in it, right, you want to, and I can say you're like, I want to engage, I want to engage. And I said to this is what I said to my family, right? And I'm going to tell you from my own personal, because I practice what I preach. I don't just preach this stuff and then not practice it. I said, look, I am here to add value back. At the point that I'm not adding value back to my family, I need to step away. And I will not engage in the drama of talking about each other. That I think as a family, we can join together and pray. That we can come together and love one another. That if somebody is off in the family, that rather than talk about them and treat them illy and say, oh, look at them, and snarl at them and give them, that we instead say, we love them and we pray for them and we get that they're going through something right now. That we can understand, oh, yeah, I understand when I get angry. I know when I get angry. Maybe they don't have a process that's going to support them to recognize that they are loved. They wouldn't be saying the crazy things if they knew this, right? They wouldn't be saying whatever they're saying, foul things to people, because they don't think they're worthy. They don't think they're enough. They've been conditioned this way, and it goes back into the mirrors. Now, there are the mirrors that I was talking about. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Ricky. There were mirrors that I was talking about. And of course, I told my niece about the mirrors. I've told you guys about the mirrors before. And there's 3 mirrors. Okay. 3 mirrors. And, I'd have to write this, but that's the number 3. And I have to write backwards so you guys can see it. Those on Podbean, I'm actually drawing a diagram. But instead of drawing a diagram, I'll talk about it. So there are the 3 mirrors. The first mirror is what? The mirror of self-reflection. I've talked about this before. I'm going to say it again so you guys can remember. The first mirror shows us who we are. So let's just say in your family, and this is the hardest one. I'm going to talk about family because it's the hardest programming to untangle. That we see ourselves. So let's say that you're like, oh, she's a jerk, right? Or your sister, your sibling, your brother, your sister, whoever it is, your mom, your dad, whatever. They're jerks. But you're a jerk too. And so all you're doing is seeing yourself. That's the first mirror, right? Where you're just seeing yourself. Okay. And then we have the next mirror. The next mirror is the mirror of what? Judgment. The judgment is, they're jerks. I know I have the right answers. I'm kind. I'm being kind, and they're still being mean to me. Okay. Good morning, Isabella. That's the second mirror, is judgment. Now, most people stay at the first 2 mirrors. They don't get to the third mirror because the third mirror is where the real work is done. This is the part where you really start to change the patterns in your life. Most people don't talk about this, or they do talk about it, but they don't really know how to work with the pattern. Now, I'm not going to say your patterns are going to change, but how we engage our pattern can change. Because I think that there are some patterns that are seated that I don't know ever change in our lives. Like, for instance, when my car gets stolen all the time. Why? I don't know. I didn't, it just happens to me. It's in my space. And I keep thinking, well, am I doing something different? Well, the way that I engage life is different. I'm not going to start blaming people. And, oh, that guy who stole my car, I prayed for the person who stole my car. I hope that they're okay. I prayed. And I got my car back, yes. And I get my car back every time for whatever reason. It always comes back with best and worst luck or whatever. But the patterns, and the third one is the trauma that we've experienced in our life. The subconscious, seated, rooted issues that have magnified or have somehow set the pattern for how we engage with others in our life. That third mirror is the hardest one to get to because we want to judge others. Oh, they're not doing it right. I am. That judgment is a big one. And we all do it. I do it too. And it's recognizing when we're doing it and then saying, okay, where did that judgment come from? Well, maybe when I was a child, and that's what the 4 agreement's talking about, the programming that we go back to when we're children. Oh, when I was a kid, my parents said that that was wrong, and I got smacked for doing that, or I got yelled at, or I got in trouble, or whatever it was, or they didn't even care, right? They didn't care. They didn't tell me that was bad. Whatever it was, it always stems back to our programming from when we were kids. And then when we figure that out and we start to work with it, we can engage it differently. But it's the awareness, and we have to be honest with ourselves. So you can put yourself through a process of like, oh yeah, that's where I'm at within the mirrors. Am I judging? And here's the thing, and I will tell you this, that I'm very proud of my um, niece. Good morning, Auntie Christine. She's very young, and I can have these conversations without her getting uncomfortable. Because if you ask people when they're in the heat of the moment, they get really angry, right? It's gonna make them. It's gonna magnify it more. So is it like, is this judgment right now? And just that question, they feel judged. They're like, whoa, why are you asking me this? The reality is, I don't really care either way. It's just a question. How you engage life is none of my business. But the questions that I ask, right, are not for me, they're for you. Because you can take responsibility and be like, yeah, this is total judgment right now. It totally is. Or you can deny it and lie to yourself and get irritated. Good morning, Jeff. I'd be like, yep, I'm pissed off right now, but it's my own judgment. That's where personal responsibility comes in. And that's the laws that they're talking about in the four agreements. What laws do you have for yourself? What laws do you set for yourself? In those laws that you set for yourself, I will not waver in principle. And I expect people will hold me accountable. That's what I like. I like when people hold me accountable, because guess what? If I'm off, which I'm not perfect, right? I'm human. We're human. And so sometimes we're off, that people will tell me, Natalie, you say this to your people. And I'm like, you're right, I do. And I totally didn't realize I was doing that. Okay, how do I get to work with this? If it pisses me off and I'm like, oh, why are you telling me right now? I don't want to hear that. I step away and I go through my process. And I go, okay, how do I engage this differently? Personal responsibility for it, okay? How do we take on the personal responsibility? That's a hard one. Because we want to blame. It's easier to just say, you know, it's their fault. They did this to me, rather than how was I an active participant in this? And how could I have shifted the way that this has happened? How can I be personal responsible? How can I shift the way that I'm engaging this, rather than coming from a place of poor me to I am powerful, I take my power back? It is not poor me. Okay. You trick me once, shame on you, right? You trick me twice, well, then shame on me. So then you know how to engage it differently. So set your principles. I really want you guys to get clear about what your principles are. I don't care how you do it. I would journal. I would just write it out. If you don't even know what a principle is, what is a principle? I don't care. Go on, get the etymology of the word, figure it out. That's what I do. I'll say, I don't know this word, and it's not past me to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? Explain it, describe it so I can understand it. So I think we've been made wrong for not understanding things. Like there's this embarrassment of like, I don't get it. The reality is, just say, I don't get it. I'm like, if people laugh at me, I'm like, go ahead and laugh. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't get what you're trying to tell me. I really don't. If I don't get it, or if I don't know a word, if I don't understand something, I seek for clarity around it, to understand somebody's perspective even. It's funny because people will get in front of me and say, well, I don't have the right words like you do. I said, I don't need you to have the right words like me. You're not me. You're not going to have my same words. The way that you see life, good morning, Nate, is going to be completely different, because you're a different person. You're seeing life through your own beautiful perspective. It's not my perspective. So the words that you're using, maybe you don't have the words to describe your experience, but that doesn't mean that you can't start to describe your experience of this life. Doesn't mean that you can't start expressing it in some fashion. And then when you have the right words to describe it, you're going to get clearer and clearer and clearer about how you're living your life and clarity. It's very clear. I try to be as clear as possible. And if I'm not clear, I'm like, how am I not clear? Let me get clear. Let me help you understand what I'm trying to say or the experience that I'm having. And that's really all we do in this entire world. That is really it. It's that simple. We're doing as humans is trying to express the internal experience we're having. We're trying to find words to describe what we see, feel, touch, how we engage with life. And we do it through art. And we're like, but this is what I see. This is how I see life. And people will do paintings and songwriting and crocheting, as Betty does. I do crocheting too. Crocheting, dancing, whatever your art is, right? Me talking a lot. That's an art that I have. Talk, 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 talk. Little chatterbox. It comes out, and really all we're doing is wanting to express the internal world of who we are, and that's really what this is about. And it becomes this big thing, and people get angry because they can't describe it, and maybe nobody's understanding them, and there's all this stuff, and we're like, but I'm not trying to do harm. But why are you seeing it as though, like when I was a kid, and maybe this is true for you, is that I would be like, I know. And so that triggered a lot of the adults, right? Like, I know. Even today, my mom's like, I know. It bugs her, it bothers her. But I was trying to say, I understand, right? I get it. I get what you're telling me. I see what you're saying. I understand your perspective. I understand what my role is in what you're trying to tell me. There's clarity there for me. But the words were I know, which triggered other people. And so what it did is it caused a bunch of chaos, right? So sometimes the words that we describe our experience of this world make people very angry and upset. And maybe that's not our intention. Okay. And maybe sometimes it is your intention. I don't know. I'm just saying, I believe that most people's intention is not to do harm, and that we are trying to communicate something we feel so important to us, and perhaps we want to share it with other people, but we don't have the right language, the right words, the right description. And that's why I'm saying get clarity. Understand what you're saying. If you don't know a word, do some research. I always go to the etymology of the word. What is the root of the word? Is this really what I'm trying to say? Is this what I'm trying to convey? Back in ancient history, what did they do? Hieroglyphics, right? They did, and then the first written text, like cuneiform text, and they said, how do we express the phenomena that we see around us? How do we articulate and express what we see? This is what makes us very uniquely different from most of animals and all that in the animal kingdom, is that we are trying to express what we see. Like, and perhaps somehow animals do this. We just don't have their language to understand this, because I think about that at times. But we're trying to say, hey, human being, hey, look at me over here. I see life like this. And then people are like, you're crazy. I don't want to talk to you. And then that person gets really upset. And they're like, but you understand, if you did this, life would be so much easier for you. And they're like, we don't care. And then you're like, no one cares. But this is how I see life. And maybe if you stop doing it that way, you could do it this way. It'd be a lot easier. But they're like, I don't want to do it easier. Just leave me alone. And then this other person starts getting upset because it's like, well, you can't see it from my perspective. Why not? And then there's this like, you're different than I am. And then we start to argue over who has the right way or the wrong way, instead of just being like, you know what? This is the way I do it. I know what it does for me. If somebody wants to join in, cool. If they don't, cool. It's not up to me to decide. I can try to show you, but if you don't want it, okay. So don't be attached, right? Or be attached. It's up to you. Again, this is not about telling you how to live your life or what to do. It's all choice. You get to choose or not choose, and there's consequences either way. Oh, and we have Mama who's going to leave. So we have Mama come say hi. They'll say hi to the viewers.
Morning.
And say hi on the Podbean. We have people on Podbean.
Oh, I am Podbean. Podbean? Podbean? What is it?
Podbean?
Whatever it is.
Hi, people on Popping. No, it's
Have a blessed day.
have a blessed day,
Okay,
she
bye.
says. Bye, love you. Mwah. You don't want to mess up the lips, okay? So, it's Podbean. Yes. We're gonna call it Popping now. From now on. Hello, viewers on Popping. Our listeners, I should say, you're not viewing me right now. You could view me. I'm on Facebook. Okay. So again, looking at those mirrors, and I think that this is a very good place to stop for this Friday. And also, again, I will be on live this evening with a guest, which I'm excited about. Oh, yay. It's my beautiful friend Raven, who I'm so excited to. And then come Monday, or maybe even this weekend, I will be announcing what my new position is. It's aligned a lot better with who I am and what I'm up to in my personal life right now. And that's what I will talk about is how I devoured everything in order to recreate a little bit closer to what my divine birthright is. And that's what I'm hoping you guys do. It doesn't have to happen overnight. It's a little bit at a time. I've been doing Spirit and Coffee for almost 2 years, you guys. It's not like it just this happened overnight, right? It was a little progression, a little at a time. And you guys are seeing how that progression works. I'm showing it to you guys so that you guys know that you too have the opportunity to do it. I'm not special. There's nothing special or everybody has the opportunity. Everybody can do it. You all can. Everybody has it within them. And that's what I want people to understand. Okay. That you have these gifts that you get to give back to the world. That is my purpose, to support people, to remember that. Okay. Okay. Let's just see what my Auntie Christine says. That is if you don't understand what anyone is talking about. I ask them, what the hell are you talking about? But me straight up. What the hell are you talking about? What, Willis? You're so right. It's totally up to each individual. Yes. So that is kind of funny because it's like, well, what are you talking about? I don't get it. And I will be honest with people. I don't understand what you're trying to convey. Please tell me so that I understand. I want clarity. I want to be able to understand other individuals. And I think that that's really it. It's just people want people to understand. We just want to be understood. That's really it at the end of the day. Can you please just understand me? But if you're not giving the language that is clear enough, then you've got to look at yourself or not. It's up to you and say, you know what? Am I communicating this in a way that obviously, if the results show up, this is big, right? It's looking at the results that show up in your life. And you're saying, I'm trying to communicate this, but the results aren't showing up the way that I think that they should, right? Like, I don't get it. It's like, I'm doing this, but I'm not getting the result. And people kind of go, how do I do this? And then they go to things like The Secret and they go to all these things and they still are like, well, it's not working for me, but it worked for that person. I don't really understand. There's huge, huge, huge gaps in the information that is given. There's huge gaps. And the gap is that we ourselves have to be clear in our language and what we're communicating to the universe to get what it is that we want. We've got to understand what we're even asking for. Where is it coming from? Why? Like you can and go ahead and try to be like, okay, I'm going to get that Lamborghini and I'm just going to just think about it really hard and everything's going to line up. It's going to be so perfect. And then it's like, nope, I didn't get the Lamborghini. I got, I don't know, hoopty ride. Well, what was the intention of wanting the Lamborghini? So you can look cool? Well, that's fine. There's nothing right, wrong, good, or bad about it. But why do you want to look cool? And then you start to dig deeper. And here's where people stop doing the work. It didn't work for me. I'm just going to go hustle my butt off and buy the Lamborghini and then feel like I'm trapped in a car payment of $5 billion a month. and now I can't do anything but drive. I'm going to party in my Lamborghini and live in it because it's so expensive. Okay. But rather than doing the real deep work, which is fine, you could do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Go ahead if it serves you. Then you're like, I'm not happy. I still am not happy. Why am I not happy? I thought this Lamborghini was going to make me happy. But the reality is no. Happiness is something that dwells within. We bring happiness to things. Things don't bring happiness to us. That is another collapsed distinction we have. We think that things bring us joy. No, we bring the joy to the thing. Opposite. Think about that. Okay, ponder on that for a second. Now, looking at the Lamborghini and driving. What was the intention? Well, I needed to get to work. Well, you can get to work in the hoopty. And God, I like to say God has a sense of humor. Like, you got a car. What are you complaining about now? Oh, because it's not pretty. Ah, got it. Okay. And I laugh. Like, I have to laugh at these things, but it's okay. It's not that we can't have the Lamborghini. It's just what in having it. Good morning, Jesus. Tell me how you're feeling about it, right? Is it supporting you or not? We've got to do or not the deeper work in order to truly manifest what we want. We've got to be clear about what the intention is behind what we're asking for or not. If you don't, there's a consequence. If you are, there's a consequence. I can tell you that things in your life will move faster if you're clear about them. Okay? Try it for yourself. Good morning, Carol. I tell people, don't take my word for it. Try it. Try it on. Try it on for size and see what happens. Okay? Put it on and say, you know what? I'm going to do the deeper work. I'm going to find out, why do I want the Lamborghini? What's the real intention behind wanting the Lamborghini? What is it? Because I want to look cool. Okay. Why do you want to look cool? Because then maybe people will like me. Oh, so you're saying people don't like you? Well, I think people like me, but then I don't know, I feel successful. Oh, so you're saying you're not successful? Well, and then you start to get into the deeper things that drive the reason why you're asking for certain things in the universe. But the clarity, once you're super clear, okay, and I'm telling you guys this is a process, up to you to do it or not. But as you become clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer about why you're asking for the things you're asking for, that your life will start to move a little bit faster for you. Your divine purpose will start to move a little bit faster. They don't tell you this. They're like, just go out and hustle. Just move. And then you're moving, moving, moving. And before you knew it, you're exhausted and you don't even know how to slow down. And you're like, why am I so worn out? But you see these people where everything starts to just happen for them and fall into place. And you're like, how are they doing this? And I'm telling you how. But it's not easy. The work takes time. It's not just an overnight. You're not an overnight success. That doesn't happen overnight, you guys. People want the quick fix. Let me take the pill to lose the weight. Guess what? It took me a long time to actually get in shape, and I'm still on my journey. I'm still doing it. It doesn't stop. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of thinking. It's a mindset. It's like, how do I create laws and principles that are going to support me into the lifestyle that I'm looking at? But if you're just trying to work after the lifestyle without changing these things, you're always going to be after the material. And that's not where it's at. It's internally in you. Now, you can believe me or not believe me. That's totally up to you. But I'll ask you, is the way you're living your life working? If it is, yay, congratulations, good. If it's not, maybe you should ask yourself, or not, why it's not. What is it that gets to shift in your life? That's what this platform is designed for, to support you to understand that. And it's up to you. To take on the work isn't easy. It's not going to be. I'm not here to tell you that taking on this spiritual work is going to be so fun, because sometimes it's not fun. And that's what they leave out. The parts that are like not fun. And the parts where you're like, yeah, I said I was going to be loyal to love. Those on Podbean, just so you know, and the ones on Facebook do know this. I made a New Year's resolution to be loyal to love. And it sounds lofty and it sounds so pretty. But when someone's cutting you off in traffic and you want to yell at them, but you're loyal to love, it's not easy. Good morning and God bless from the wilds of West Texas. Hey, Texas. Just found this podcast today and it's a blessing. Oh, well, thank you for joining us and thank you for chiming in. I absolutely love when people chime in, and you are a blessing. So thank you. But let's be real. That's what I am. I'm real. And people get uncomfortable in it. And I don't, am I going to care? No. Why? Because I understand what it takes. And it's not easy. Spiritual journeys are not easy. They're the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing to say, I'm going to put my spirit first always. Spirit, mind, body is walking in integrity. That to me is integrity. Good morning, everybody. Oh, look, I agree. Yay, we have KK. We have good morning, everyone, which is SKAC. This is on Podbean, you guys. There's people on Podbean that are here talking. Tonight, you guys, those on Podbean, I'll be doing a special edition and on my Facebook with a friend of mine. I want to get more people involved. Don't know how that's going to look, but for those of you on Podbean, I do a Facebook Live. So if you ever want to see my face, you guys have the opportunity to do that. So there you go. And you guys can go back to videos. I've done this for quite some time on Facebook Live. I just extended it to Podbean, and I'm very excited about the fact that I did that because now we have the recordings, and now everybody can hear my voice forever. Yay! Oh, there's that crazy Natalie. Okay, so again, wake up. I'm back to that message about a year ago. I kept telling everybody, wake up, 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 wake up. It's time for us to wake up and start to take on our life. Now, I'm going to leave it like this. Live your best life and stop giving a shit about what people think. As long as you're not doing no harm, right? Do no harm, but take no shit. Live your best life. How do you do that? By not caring what other people think. If you're doing harm, okay, that makes sense. But if you're not doing harm, live your life. Or don't. There's consequences either way. You're going to get a result either way. So I encourage you to do that. Dig a little deeper into why things are happening the way they're happening. Get clarity around certain concepts. Understand what you're talking about. Dig deep. And as you do that, you start to reseed new patterns. And if you're not reseeding new patterns, you're learning to engage in your patterns from a different perspective. Your patterns may never change, but at least you can be personally responsible for how you react to them. That's where your power lies. When you can remain calm and love somebody in the face of someone yelling and spitting at you, I mean, that takes practice. That is not easy. It's easier to slap somebody back when they slap you. It's the easiest thing to do. But all you're doing is perpetuating the same shit that you don't like. Do you like someone slapping you? No. Then you slap them back, but you don't like it. But come on, think about that. Just think about it for a second. If somebody slaps you in the face, the first thing you want to do is be like, yeah, I'm going to slap you back. I'm going to get back at you. Instead of saying, you know what? I love you. I have compassion for you. And I recognize you're in suffering right now. And I need to walk away because I feel like I want to slap you, but I'm going to walk away and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to pray. And I guarantee you when they have nowhere to go, I've had this happen to me over and over again. People come back and apologize. They come back and say, you know what? I'm sorry. Good morning, ZYZZ. I don't know what your name is, but good morning. I'm Podbean. And they come back and they're like, I'm sorry. And I say, you know what? I forgive you. It's okay. I've been upset before too. To me, those people that are like to show off, my Auntie Christine says. And my Auntie Christine says, real is the only way for me. I hate fake people. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to be real because people want you to be fake, right? If I sell out on you, you're going to sell out on me. And guess what? We don't have to hold each other accountable for anything. That sounds a lot like politics. Okay, never mind. Shut up, Natalie. We don't get into politics here. Practical use. Go out and live your best life Friday. Okay. So I would say your homework is to like, if there's something there, something that you're like, okay, I want the Lamborghini. Okay. I don't know why Lamborghini keeps coming to mind. Someone out there must want a Lamborghini. Okay. I want the Lamborghini. Get serious with yourself and ask yourself why. What is the true purpose behind it? Why do you truly want this? What is it about it? And dig deep, because I can guarantee if you don't have the money but you want it, why do you want it? What is the need? What is the desire? What is it that you're missing in your life? There's a void there, and being real with yourself about the void that you're trying to fill. Because then you may come to understand that it's really not the Lamborghini, but really it's that you want your children to, you want to have a good conversation with your wife or your child or your husband or whoever. And that's really what it is. It's the attention that you want, but you're not being honest with yourself. So you're placing it in materialistic things. Okay. And then as we get clearer and clearer and clearer, we start to create our divine birthright. Okay. I just walk away and play addiction centers are still with me and I want to slap me around. I'm going to hit back. And that's your choice. You can hit back, but there's a result in that, right? It's hard to walk away from things that are, oof, traffic for me. That's a hard one. People drive crazier and crazier every day. And I'm like, oh my God, breathe. I love you. Go ahead. You must be having a hard day. Oof. And sometimes it's hard. And sometimes we just need to put on the boxing gloves and go hit the boxing bag and just let it out. That's okay too. Okay. All right. So I'm going to be seeing you guys tonight. I'm super excited about tonight's podcast. Is going to be at probably about 6:30 at night, something like that. And we're not going to have coffee. I'm not going to have my coffee with me. We're going to drink tea. So it'll be spirited in coffee, but really spirited in tea. Okay, I just took another drink of my coffee because it's so good. So please, 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 please show up. Raven's amazing. And I'm going to be doing it on for those on Podbean, if you want to show up, I'll be doing it on my live stream on Facebook too as well. But it's going to be on my Facebook page, not my personal pages where I usually do my live videos. So you guys are welcome to show up and see me and Raven and our faces. And you can be like, hey, I could see her, whatever. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys go. Have the most fantastic, fun, fabulous, futuristic, funky, phenomenal Friday ever. And I will be seeing you guys tonight. And then I will be seeing you guys on Monday. And I have great news to tell you about what I'm up to, okay? Love you, mean it. Bye. I'm in, so those on Podbean, I haven't ended. But I'm actually in Mountain Standard Time. So, oh, sorry, I guess I should have said that, huh? Mountain Standard Time, 6:30, and that I don't know where you're at or what time zone you're in, but that's the time zone that I'm in. So right now it is 7:52 a.m. You're welcome. Thank you for chiming in. And for those of you on Podbean, have a beautiful day. I will be seeing you guys tonight. I hope you guys can make it to, I'll be doing it on Podbean as well. So you guys are welcome to listen on Podbean. But I'm also going to be live. So you can watch it live too if you want. Up to you. All right. Have a fantastic day, you guys on Podbean. I love you guys and thank you for joining. Bye.